Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, June 28th, 2015. I have a headache, a sore throat, and a low-grade fever, but we got to talk about Y&R. Everything in me is saying just get in bed and go to sleep for like 12 hours, but Y&R kind of exploded this week. I'm gonna do my very best to recap it. I got my comfy clothes on. I'm gonna kind of try to keep my voice low. My throat is like swollen, but oh my. I mean, there was some good stuff that happened on Y&R. There was some very, very bad stuff that happened on Y&R, and I cannot possibly miss the opportunity to talk about it. I'll start sort of at the beginning by saying that I'm so glad that Louise is home. When Jack walked through the door of the Abbott mansion, I was so relieved. He's looking around sort of romantically at the house that his father built, the life that his father built, his family, the photos on the mantle, everything, his entire life that he's built for himself, his legacy, and I was happy about all of that, but more than anything, I was just happy that it signaled the end of the beginning of the end of hopefully the twin storyline. Jack had been gone far too long. The cargo ship thing was an unnecessary diversion, if you ask me, although it did give us Marissa, and I'm kind of liking her at this point in the story. But Jack's looking around his house so happy to be home. He looks on the mantle and sees that picture of himself, of Marco, in that god-awful golf outfit, standing next to Phyllis. He's realizing the full extent of how Marco has taken over his life, and he's realizing that he needs to kick into gear. He runs upstairs, and Jack Abbott could not get himself into a fresh, stiff business suit fast enough. I mean, let's just say that you've been kidnapped, beaten, exploded off of a cargo ship. You get home and the very first thing that you do is put on business attire. I think this says a little bit about the man that we're dealing with. I thought that was pretty great. I'm glad Jack is back. Welcome back home, Louise. At the same time, the whole Victor getting arrested for embezzlement storyline kind of fizzled. I don't even know if that's necessarily going to come back into play. I mean, Victor goes to jail. I mean, of course, no jail cell could hold him. He's out within probably 8 hours. But before that, Paul was questioning him. Victor's refusing to say anything. All he does is assign a security guard to each and every member of his family, realizing that that Marco is dangerous, that he set up this plan to set him up for embezzlement, and he knows that Marco will stop at no lengths to get what he's wanted. Victor's opened this Pandora's box. Frankly, he deserves to get whatever comes out of it. And I kind of think that's why I think that maybe Paul is sort of aware. I know that Victor didn't really talk to Paul, but a little bit, I think, after Victor had been released, Summer comes to the police station. She's been playing a very active role in being sort of a mediator between the Abbotts and the Newmans, and she tells Paul that exactly about where Kyle had been, and that she thinks Victor had been set up. And so I think maybe Paul's awareness is up, that something's going on, and I don't know if that's going to play later into the week, but Victor, as soon as he gets, or later into the story, sorry, as soon as Victor gets out of jail, he goes directly to Marco and does the worst thing that you could really do: tell your enemy exactly what your weak spot is. He just tells Marco, stay away from my family. If you do anything to my family, I will kill you. All that does is end up fueling Marco. And again, that's kind of why I'm wondering, is there any chance that Victor is sort of aware of what's going to end up happening later on in the week? Does Paul know? I'm looking for a twist around every single corner. Phyllis is trying to put the pieces together about who this man really is. And in fact, Jack runs into her at the Abbott mansion for the first time, coming into contact with her since he was kidnapped and taken away. This is a woman who he was just married to, the love of his life, and he thought she was dead for a period of time. Not only has he been through this trauma, but he was afraid that she had died. So Phyllis and he come eye to eye for the first time, and it was really a nice moment. Phyllis has been trying to figure out why Jack is doing all of these things, why he's lying, why he's become like a different man. And this, for one moment, sort of melts away, and she's looking at the real Jack, and she seems to just know that that's him, and everything feels fine. So it was nice that Y&R gave us that little moment before the final countdown, the final showdown begins. At the athletic club, Marco is sitting down with Adam, and I think it was actually Phyllis who was talking to Adam and telling her everything that she was suspicious about when it came to her husband. And Adam started to put together that something was off, and he starts to question Jack, who he thinks is Jack, in a way that sort of reveals to him that he's lying, that this is not Jack Abbott, and in fact says to him, okay, well, you're obviously not Jack, so who are you? It was a great moment. It was greater than I'm able to project right now because I felt sick. But I really, really liked that whole lead up. It felt really cool to see Adam finally be the one to figure it all out. There was this sense of, yeah, you can't con a con man. You know, you can't out-con a con. So I was happy to see that it was Adam who was the one that figured it out. And Marco goes on to tell Adam that about Jack's death, that Jack Abbott is actually dead, which is what Marco believes at this point in the story, but completely denies that he had anything to do with it, which is, you know, sort of a half-truth. I mean, I don't think Marco necessarily wanted Jack dead at first, but we saw a scene very, very early in the week where Marco thought Jack was dead, based on his phone call with Marissa, realized that he was still alive and that Marissa was protecting him, and he sent a goon off to kill Jack and to, I don't know what he was planning on doing with Marissa, presumably bring her to him on a platter, I don't know, but we've now gotten a sense that Marco is very dangerous. He's not just kind of a opportunist. He's much more sinister and much more calculating than we realize, and I think I was starting to really, really get the sense of that as Marco was revealing himself to Adam. Marco realizes that Adam's not really a threat to him, and I will say, just on a side note, I felt a little confused by that relationship and that jump, because I remember that Marco knew Adam was Victor's son, or that Gabriel, in quotes, was Adam's son, but I don't really remember there ever being a scene where it was explicitly acknowledged that Gabriel was Adam. Between Gabriel and between Adam and Marco. I didn't never catch that, but all of a sudden it seemed the leap of the relationship was there. It was sort of two thieves in a pod. Marco completely was aware that Gabriel was Adam Newman, and in fact saw him as a deeper ally than maybe even I realized. So Marco's revealing himself to Adam in a way that sort of shocked me, because Marco had sort of alluded to the fact that he knew that he was a Jack double for long before Victor rescued him from a Peruvian prison. So that's been apparently a part of Marco's MO for quite a while, he said. I mean, or he was protecting Victor, which I don't know why he would need to lie to Adam about that at this point. But Marco seemed to indicate that he found out that he was a dupe for Jack, so he researched Jack at every point he could, and he made it his mission to go and assume his life. I almost got the impression, and you guys can tell me if that's what you got too, I almost got the impression that Victor coming along and plucking him up out of the prison was helpful, but it wasn't the first time it had ever occurred to Marco that this could be an opportunity to make some cash. But furthermore, Marco starts to reveal his endgame to Adam and says, what my next plan is, I'm going to fake my own death and make it look like Victor did it, and you're going to help me. So Adam is immediately like, I'm going to help you. I don't think so. But Marco makes this very compelling argument that, if you go to the police right now and tell them who I am, then your whole life is going to be blown up. Everything you've been working for, calculating for, is going to be completely destroyed. All you have to do is help me slip away into the sunset with all of Jack Abbott's money. You can have Newman Chabot, you can have Chelsea, you can have everything you always wanted. You can reveal yourself or don't reveal yourself. You can keep your identity as you want to. And Adam, I have to say, I'm very surprised by Adam's reaction. He agrees to go along and help Marco, and I don't buy it. It just seems very out of character for me. Adam suddenly becomes Marco's wingman, and he's helping him enact this plan. Of course, Adam has reason to want all of those things that Marco laid out, including revenge on Victor. But I just can't see somehow Adam going along with this plan. I mean, they are totally like putting on the bulletproof vest, and Marco's got a fake gun, and he's gonna goat Victor into shooting him. The thing that they haven't really counted on is the fact that the real Jack is back in the picture. Not only is he sniffing around his life and seeing that this imposter has made a lot of people angry, but he's starting to get the sense that there is some danger, and certainly Marissa is reinforcing that. He sends Marissa to Chabot to eavesdrop on a conversation that Gabriel and Marco are having. I should say Adam and Marco are having, getting ready to go forth with the plan to fake Jack's death and frame Victor for it. And Marissa goes undetected, gets back to where she's staying at the athletic club. I assume that Jack gave her some money to stay at the fanciest hotel in town, I assume. So they've got a room at the athletic club. I don't know how Phyllis is going to feel about that when it all boils down. And I guess, again, another side note, I'm a little bit scattered this week, but I will say, when Jack was at the house and he was with Phyllis for that brief moment and they were connecting for the first time again, he did try to tell her that all is not what it seemed. And there was a part of me that thought, don't tell her. It's better for Phyllis if you actually don't tell her, because I'm afraid to know what this is going to do to Phyllis when she finds out that she's been sleeping with an imposter. It's horrifying. If you could put yourself in her position for a moment, wouldn't that feel like rape? I mean, it just, which is apparently a theme of the show right now. But it's just, in a way, because then again, I guess keeping a secret isn't bad either, but there was just this part of me that was thinking, don't tell her, Jack. Just if there's any way to save her from what this information is going to do to her, maybe you should do it. But I don't know, maybe that's not the right thing to do. But I'm also kind of wondering if we're going to start to see cracks in Jack and Phyllis's relationship as a result of all of this. Maybe Jack feeling betrayed by the fact that she didn't know it was not him. Maybe it seems like he and Marissa are getting along pretty well. I don't know if that's going to come into play at all. Certainly she likes men that look like that. She's still very much in love with Marco, so I'm not sure, but they do kind of make a nice team, and I want Jack and Phyllis to get back together, but I'm kind of liking the addition of Marissa. I liked her curly French braid. I liked her funky earrings. I think she's kind of cool. Maybe we could hook her up with Noah or somebody. Somebody's got to be single in town. So anyway, she does run back and tell the real Jack about something is going to be going down in Chancellor Park. She doesn't know exactly what the plan is going to be, but Jack is immediately ready to pick himself up and run out there and get into the middle of it. It's not a game that he wants to play slow. He wants to force his way in and take care of this. And the surprising element was Jack saying, yeah, I can see that Victor's fingerprints are all over this, but I gotta go save his life. If Victor Newman is in any danger, I gotta go save his life. He saved my life, and I'm gonna make it even, and then once I make it even, all bets are off. I didn't even think about that as a twist, that Victor saved Jack's life, so Jack would naturally end up saving Victor's life, thus sort of evening the score, evening out the storyline or the balance of the Genoa City universe a little bit. So Jack runs off to save his one true love, Victor, and Marissa does end up calling the police. So she calls Paul, doesn't give him any information, but at least alerts him to the fact that there's going to be a shooting at the park. So the police are certainly going to be involved sooner or later, I'm not sure. I find it hard to believe that Victor just walked right into Marco's plan. It seems to me that every step along the way, Victor has made the dumb move, which is not really like Victor. It wouldn't be like him to go to his enemy and say exactly what his weak spot is. It doesn't seem like Victor to even meet Marco in the park. I think I want to believe, I suppose, that maybe Victor was going to kind of one up him at one point, but I don't know, maybe not. It seemed to me like Victor just walked right into it. The very end of Friday's show, the big climax, is Adam kind of hiding behind a pillar or something, the steps in Chancellor Park. This is so stupid. He's sort of looking out, kind of like a Cyrano or something. It was almost very Shakespearean. He's sort of looking out on the scene of Victor and Marco together, and I think Marco reached into his jacket pocket for a gun, and Victor was quick draw McGraw over there. He like flung that pistol out of his pocket and just boom, like put one right in Marco's chest right there in Catherine's Memorial Park. It was all very fast. It was very anticlimactic, I would say, but exciting at the same time. I guess I enjoyed the build up to that moment a lot more than the actual moment. It was over in a second, 1 second. It didn't last at all. It was just boom, showdown, done. Victor shoots him, for crying out loud, which is such a bad plan. Bulletproof vest is not going to protect your head. Victor should have just shot him in the head. Then it all would have been over. And then after Victor, it was almost like a script. I mean, I know it is. But the suspension of disbelief part, even, it felt like, you know, the scene within the scene felt scripted, because Adam runs out immediately over Jack's body and is like, you killed him, you killed him. I'll keep your secret if you decide to give me the company. Give me Newman Abbott and everything in it, and I'll keep this little secret. I mean, Victor has to have known this was a setup. I mean, he doesn't know that it's Adam, but it just seems all a little bit implausible for me. I don't know. The thing is that I did not even think about until I started reading my YNR chat comments for the week. It didn't even occur to me that there could have been a switcheroo. First of all, it seemed to me like the bullet hit in the vest. Well, first of all, I should say I don't know any spoilers. I don't know anything beyond what happened on Friday's US show. So it could all be revealed on Monday and I wouldn't know. But it looked to me like the bullet hit the bulletproof vest. So I'm assuming whoever is the man that's lying on the ground is still alive, presumably. I'm not sure, but Ariel had called into my voicemail, and I was so shocked that I didn't even think of this, but she was the first person to kind of put the thought in my head that the man that there had already been a switcheroo, that the man lying on the ground is the real Jack, that somehow the real Jack was able to swoop in and apprehend Marco, make a switch, and then go through with Marco's plan, which is so dangerous after going through everything he's gone through, and putting on the bulletproof vest, and who Victor actually shot was the real Jack. I also got a Facebook message from Daisy who writes, I think Victor shot the real Jack and we'll spend weeks trying to see if he'll live. Victor will surely end up in jail because of it. Victor could have justified shooting the criminal Marco, but there's no justification for shooting the real Jack. Marissa might be the only person who can set things right, but we don't know yet if her loyalties will be with Jack or with Marco. So, wow, that completely blew my mind. I entirely assumed that Marco's plan had just gone off without a hitch, and now here we are. But it makes so much more sense to think of it actually being the real Jack, and maybe he will be mortally wounded or wounded to some extent. That's a really good theory. And it's just that those words keep ringing in my ears. Jack's last words before he ran out the door, you know, or he was saying, you know, Victor saved my life, and now I'm gonna go save his. So there is almost like this great assumption that hopefully Jack was able to ride in, save the day, and balance the scales. After finding out about Kane and Lauren's kiss, Lily went right to the surveillance tapes of the athletic club, and she found a surveillance tape which showed Lauren entering in to Kane's room at midnight. Why on earth would Lauren have gone to Kane's hotel room at midnight? It's so completely inappropriate. And I got a voicemail from Gary too earlier in the week, and he was kind of remembering that YNR had showed us a preview of Kane and Lauren sleeping together, and then it never, you know, when they do the previews at the end of the show, and then it never got picked up on. And I kind of remember that too. Do you guys remember that? I'm kind of wondering, well, did I miss something? Because there was just such an element of secrecy around this midnight visit between Kane and Lauren, and I especially at the beginning part of the week, neither one of them was denying it. It wasn't until Thursday or Friday's show that Kane actually did end up denying it. And there was just still a part of me that's thinking, I wouldn't put it past them if they had slept together at this point. There is no good reason why Lauren should have been in Kane's hotel room, and there is so much reason for Lily to be suspicious about it. In fact, when she confronts Kane with the surveillance footage, Cain is immediately so offended by the fact that she wouldn't trust him and that she would go looking for evidence. Well, I thought, what? It's completely reasonable that she would do that. I don't blame Lily at all for looking. I blame Kane and Lauren for having this inappropriate relationship. And it's as much on Lauren as it is on Kane, although I'm very mad at Kane right now. I'm having a very hard time connecting with him and forgiving him. But at the same time, Lauren should be respecting enough of Lily's wishes to stay away, and I don't know why she isn't. She, you almost get this sense from Lauren, and there was a little moment between her and Paul, Lauren and Paul having a conversation later in the week where Lauren just seemed to indicate that she really appreciated Kane's support, and maybe in a sexual way. Maybe she was, that maybe she's interested in him. That, on the surface, Lauren's lips are saying to Kane, you need to go fix your marriage. But there's a part of me that's wondering if she's kind of hoping that she's going to be able to pursue a relationship with him. I think, maybe at the end of the day, Michael was a little bit right about Lauren in that she is someone who needs to have the sexual attention from a partner. So maybe that is what she's looking for. Maybe that is what she's missing. And certainly Michael has tortured her beyond what anyone should have been through. But there is a part of me that wonders if he was just speeding the process along. Ooh, that's a good question. Now, Lily is so upset by finding this footage, assuming that Kane and Lauren are having an ongoing affair. Oh, Lord. She has a weak moment. Joe walks into her little weak moment. And the next thing you know, Lily and Joe are having sex. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. Joe just moved right in. She gets herself a hotel suite upstairs. She's ready to drink herself silly. Joe just happens to, he has impeccable timing. I don't trust him. I don't trust that that he didn't want this from the beginning. He seems opportunistic to me, but he kind of walks into the picture and he's just right place at right time. And Lily kisses him and she decides she wants to just forget all about it. She just she just jumped on him. She wrapped her legs around him so tight. She jumped up onto him, wrapped her legs around him. He carries her over to the bed and they have sad sex. It just had to have been sad because neither of them are thinking about neither of them are thinking about each other. Lily's thinking about Cain. He's thinking about Avery. Oh, it was so humiliating. I felt bad for Lily because for as many things as Lily's and Cain's relationship has been, if she was going to have an affair, she could have had it with Tyler. I don't think it was in her heart to cheat on Cain. I think she just had a total lapse of judgment and she knew it immediately. She was regretting it. And she even said, I judged Hillary and Devon for their affair. I've been so judgmental about that. And now here I am. I hate that I've done this. She wants to just quietly tuck this whole thing away. File it under mistake. But we all know how that tends to turn out. I am just absolutely devastated about what's going on with Avery. This is so... it's horrific. I feel so disappointed that Y&R is doing this. I'll start at the beginning of the week. Avery is having this feeling that Joe is stalking her. She is hearing noises in the apartment. She feels very strongly that someone is watching her. She, in fact, had an incident where she thought someone broke into the apartment. She calls Dylan, who she has seen as her protector, and asked him to come over. And Dylan he does go over and check on her, but he sort of kind of tells her, you got to call the police if this is happening. I'm trying to pursue, I'm not your husband, and I'm not your lover anymore. I'm not your partner anymore. You have to learn to lean on somebody else. And it was so sad. She's increasning isolated. She's increasingly alone, and not even just the character, but it feels like the actress is. It's such a sad feeling to watch Avery go through this, and I've gone through waves of wondering what's really going on here, because I did think at the beginning of the week that maybe she was starting to imagine it, that maybe she was so spooked by everything that had gone on with Joe that she was I don't know, freaking herself out, or maybe that she was at the beginning of a mental illness, or that there was something about her that we didn't know. That kind of alluded to that the previous week, Joe saying something like he knew a secret that she had or something. He knew more about her than we did. So I thought maybe she was losing her mind. And I don't think that Joe was stalking her. Still to this day, at this point in the story, I don't think it's Joe. I don't think Joe is behind this. I think it's all too convenient. There are a lot of time gaps. YNR is showing us things happening to Avery when Joe may or may not have an alibi. And I just think it's a red herring. I think it's either somebody else or somebody else entirely. The initial thing that happened, with the break-in, Avery is absolutely sure that it was Joe, and she calls the police, tells Paul, and Paul's not believing of her, which was such a hard thing to watch too. I think he did end up going and questioning Joe about his alibi, and he had to say that he was with Lily. He didn't happen to mention on that occasion that they were sleeping together, but he does kind of mention that. And then Lily I'm trying to remember all of this in the right order, because I'm just so sad about everything. Lily ends up going over to talk to Avery after she has slept with Joe, and she confides in Avery that she has just done this and that she's not sure if she can trust Joe to keep the secret, even though he's promised to. And she just, is kind of wondering what she's gotten herself into. And it was odd that Avery said to her, Joe's a lot of things, but I don't think he would go and ruin your reputation. I think he cares about his own reputation. Of all the things I think Joe would do, I don't think he would do this. So there was this weird moment of Avery kind of defending Joe, and being so kind to Lily. I hate that this is going on, because the fact that Avery is going through her own hell, and she took the time to really comfort Lily, even gave her a change of clothes. Lily's feeling sick with the fact that she's had this affair, and Avery says, just go ahead, take a shower. Here, take a dress of mine that magically fits you so perfectly. And I just thought it was so kind of Avery, and just so disappointing to see what happens to her later. Another sort of out of character move, Avery calls Joe and asks to meet with him. She's got a restraining order with him at this point, and she kind of lures him in. She says, I want to just talk with you and end this war between us. And then when he does agree to meet her, which, by the way, happened to be in a dark park at night, she flips the script and starts telling him that she's, disappointed with what he would do with Lily, and it was sort of, it became more confrontational than it was about, healing or whatever. And I don't know if that was intentional or an emotional decision, but they end up getting into an argument, and Joe once again grabs her wrist, which I just think it's a red herring. I think YNR would want us to think that it's Joe, because he's showing us these elements of violence. Of course, he's never grabbed her. We've never seen any indication of him being violent with her, and now all of a sudden, it's every time we turn around, he's grabbing her. I kind of hate that. I don't like this element of violence, and I certainly don't like what comes next. They have a confrontation, they part ways, Avery goes walking off into the dark alone. She's outside of her apartment, and we just see like this guy come up behind her with his gloved hand and covers her mouth and drags her off into the alley, and the next thing we see, she is in the hospital being swabbed under her fingernails by a nurse, and there's a sexual assault kit on the little table in front of her. I could not believe it. I mean, I literally, when I wasn't expecting that because I don't read spoilers, so I was completely not expecting that. I immediately, I was shocked. I like screamed and brought my hands to over my mouth and my eyes. It was so, I couldn't believe it was happening. And I guess a lot of it's so shocking to me because I really like Avery. She's just a kind of a good person. Why do we have to put her through this? It doesn't seem necessary. It's so awful. It's so awful, and it's so dark. I know this isn't the first time we've ever had a rape storyline, but it feels torturous to me, and knowing that she's leaving is even harder. I just don't know that she's going to be able to really recover from this. I worry that it's going to end up culminating in possibly her killing herself. I don't want that for the character, and I don't want to watch that as a viewer. So I'm just really hoping that's not where they go. And I feel a little bad for Joe because I think I don't know, maybe that's a horrible thing to say, but I just don't think he did it. I just don't. I think, and not because all the evidence isn't there, but just because I think writing wise, I think the writers are gonna have it be something else. And there's not any indication that actor is leaving the show. So I kind of think that this is Avery in isolation. I think it's going to end up being someone else entirely, and so I feel bad if Joe didn't do it, that he would be accused of something so awful. Of course, if he did do it, then certainly I'd like to see him get punished. It's so dark. Avery didn't end up seeing his face, so she didn't know who it was. Oh God, I can't believe this happened. The actress is so good too. Her eyes are bloodshot as she's lying there in the bed and she's just crying, and it was like too real or something, because she also started describing how she didn't see his face, he had a ski mask on, but she knew that it was Joe. She knew. It was the same body build as Joe. She's had sex with Joe before. Then she even said she could smell she could smell his cologne. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong to not believe her. I guess maybe I'm wrong to not believe her. If she says it's Joe, then maybe it's Joe. And only because I'm only thinking it's not, because I'm looking at it from a writing perspective or from a story perspective. We should believe her if she's saying that's him. It's too real. Saying that she could smell the cologne and it made her sick, I'm looking for the twist, though. You know, I'm trying to not, I can't get into this too much. It's too depressing. But I am looking for the twist, and I kind of do. Someone had mentioned early in the story when Joe came on to the scene that there was a possibility or a speculation that he might be the brother of Matt Clark. And for some reason, that's sort of sticking with me today as I'm thinking about that. Because Matt Clark is a character who he came onto the scene a couple of different times, and I think he's still alive. I think he left alive, and he's someone who tried to rape Sharon twice. And in fact, he did end up raping one of Nick's old girlfriends, Amy, and there was they had done a whole paternity thing around it, like Matt raped Sharon and she got pregnant, and they didn't know if it was Matt's or Nick's, but Sharon ended up losing the baby, and I don't remember how the whole thing ended. But I thought it was interesting that the last names are the same. their body types are even similar. You know, the way I kind of remember Matt Clark, although I think two different actors played him, it was sort of a similar looking guy, the dark hair, you know, tall and thin. They kind of might look the same. And the fact that Matt Clark was a character who had raped Sharon. And I thought, well, maybe that would be sort of a connection point between Sharon and Avery eventually. So, I mean, I don't know. That's all completely speculation. But if they were to do some kind of DNA testing, or, you know, what the rape kit results would be, that will be, you know, we're going to need to see what the results of that are. I'm wondering if the DNA would be the same if it was something like Joe's brother instead of Joe, or I don't know. I'm also kind of wondering, how is Lily having sex with Joe going to end up playing into this? Is there any chance that they're going to need to do a swab of Lily or something for DNA? This is all just too detailed, but I mean, in essence, I'm wondering, you know, to what Lily thinks that her secret is safe for now, and that it's just going to be something that she has to internally struggle with. But this is all gonna get dragged out into the light for her and everyone. On kind of a related note, I guess there's so much going on with YNR right now that nobody really mentioned this to me this week, and I was so surprised. But Lauren finally signs Michael's divorce papers. So Lauren and Michael are divorced. It's official. And it's such a big deal to me, and I'm just so surprised nobody else really was had mentioned it to me. I mean, so much else was going on, but wow. After just, I think, the final straw, Lauren could not fight it anymore. I think she was tired of being tortured by Michael. She was tired of being pushed away by Michael, and she finally just said, "Give me the pen." And she signs his divorce papers. She gives this dramatic speech after she signs them, where, you know, she says, "Well, I hope you're happy." And then she goes to leave, and she turns around and she says, "You know what? I haven't lied to you yet. So why should I start now? I don't hope you're happy. I hope this hurts you as much as it hurts me." It was great. It was really a great speech. That was great writing. I'm just really pissed off that it happened, to be honest with you. I had to do my little internet research, my little Wikipediaing, to find out that Michael and Lauren were married in 2005. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that that's 10 years of chemistry, of romance, of raising a child together, of raising a 19-year-old together in 10 years. But just a really remarkable relationship. 10 years old, completely down the tubes. Thanks, new YNR. Thanks. I mean, for what? For some ratings or what? And Michael and Lauren's divorce was not top news. I mean, am I the only one that cared about them anymore? Maybe it was just me. They're my favorite couple on the show. Michael has become such a dark character to me now, and the fact that they would get divorced and then it would just seem, it was sort of an after note, it's really kind of sacrilege to me. Michael and Lauren had to have been one of the longest running soap couples, and I just wanted to make sure to throw that out there this week as a question to you. Can you think of any characters on the show any time in the past who have lasted 10 years with no divorces? I mean, you could say Nikki and Victor 25 years, but there's been about 6 divorces in there. How many other soap couples can you think of on YNR that have been together for 10 years or more? And if you want to toss in, for those of you who watch other soaps, if you want to toss in some other soaps, from current soaps or past soaps or anything, tell me some long-running soap couples with no divorces in between. I'd love to hear those comments. And speeding right along, light speeding through everything these days. Sharon's pregnant. Why would I even be surprised? Week 1, Dylan breaks up with Avery and he's with Sharon. Week 2, they're sleeping together. Week 3, they're moved in. Week 4, she's pregnant. And it's true. That is truth. And it's not that I don't think Sharon and Dylan are a great couple. It's not. I like Sharon and Dylan together, and it's not even that I don't want them to have a baby. I actually like the idea of Sharon and Dylan having a child together. I mean, Dylan's never gotten to experience fatherhood before, and I think it would be really cool to see him going through that for the first time. I think it could be a really healing experience for Sharon. I like both of these characters. I like all of the elements that had happened to them. I just don't need them all crammed into 1 month of story. And I'm ticked about that. I'm just ticked about this whole pregnancy thing. I cannot communicate to you the deepness of my sigh over this. And it was kind of a trick, because at the beginning of the week, Dylan and Sharon were kind of deciding to take a step back. They actually did acknowledge that the relationship was moving very fast, and they decided to maybe date a little. They went out on a date at the Underground, and I was on board. I was like, yes, thank you. Maybe the writers heard my plea and they decided to slow it up a little bit. And then, no, they just turned that right on me. Sharon's got a pregnancy test in her bag. She's having a conversation with Nick about him and Sage's pregnancy, and she even said to him, well, I know I'm fine with you having a family. I'm going to start my own. And she said that before she even took the pregnancy test, which is weird. I thought Nick's reaction was weird. He is Mr. Control Freak when it comes to everything in her life, but he has quite literally and completely passed the torch over to Dylan. He's like, you deal with her now. Nick was like, hey, good for you, Sharon. If you want to have a family, you go for it. Furthermore, it's kind of weird that Sharon is so supportive of Nick, because she's saying to Nick, I'm happy that you're having a baby with Sage. That's such great news. And remember that scene a couple of weeks ago when she goes to Sage and throws her arms around her and is like, congratulations. And then Sharon's being so supportive about Dylan being involved with Avery and helping her. It's almost too supportive. I mean, I just keep thinking, wow, that's so mature. I'm so glad to see Sharon being mature. But now I'm wondering if it's because she's got some kind of trick up her sleeve. An ace in the hole, so to speak. I really hope not. She tells Dylan that she's pregnant. We don't see the pregnancy test. We just see that she has one. And then all of a sudden she's telling Dylan. And he's of course thrilled about it, and I thought that was a very cute scene. That she's thinking, oh, he's not gonna be happy. He's gonna think it's moving too fast, and then he says, no, I'm thrilled about this. He's gonna be a great dad. Like, who would be a better dad than Dylan? And I mean, it makes complete sense. And then in true Y&R form, they're speeding along immediately to making the big family announcement. I mean, who takes a pregnancy test and then calls everybody together immediately to announce? I mean, they called a family meeting with Paul and Nikki, Chris, Mariah, Noah, and they just want to tell everybody their good news. I can't believe it. Everybody in the room was shocked. Noah's like, whoa, hold up. Mariah's very suspicious of Dylan and his intentions, which I don't entirely know where that's coming from. I definitely still feel something off with the Sharon and Mariah relationship, and I don't know. Sharon was kind of rude to Mariah before, or a little bit later in the announcement about, if you can't support me, then you can get out, or something along those lines. And I think Mariah was shocked by that, and it turned, and then all of a sudden she's hugging her and being happy, and that was weird. But the only reaction that I really cared about and enjoyed more than anything else was Nikki. She had this look on her face like, are you kidding me? you're pregnant now. I mean, everybody, when they learned about it, is standing there kind of questioning Sharon, saying, are you questioning both of them, like, are you okay with this, Dylan? Are you okay with this, Sharon? Nikki asked the completely legitimate question about, is Sharon going to be able to continue taking her medicine while she's pregnant? Nikki said, she had a great line. She said something about, well, we know what happens when you don't take your meds. Buildings burn, companies crumble, families fall apart. Great line. And I loved also a little bit later when Sharon and Nikki are sitting down and just getting real with it. Nikki said something like, what is it about my sons that you just have to have them? I do have a lot of comments this week. I probably should have just read comments instead of attempting to do my recap, because I don't know how very good I've been. But I will start out with Anna, who left me a voicemail, and she says, I think Sharon got pregnant on purpose to keep Dylan away from Avery. And that was sort of, that was Nikki's position as well. She went as far as to accuse Sharon of poking a hole in the condom or failing to take her birth control pills, which is like, ooh, she went there. See, that's the thing, is I'm thinking there's something up too. Something doesn't seem right. Like, is there any chance Sharon isn't even pregnant at all? I don't know. Another really good theory that I got from Angela, who left me a voicemail at yrchat.com. She said, I have a bad feeling that Sharon's going to fake this pregnancy and try to steal Sage's baby, or vice versa. It's disturbing. I know. Yeah, something's up. I don't think this is just going to be a straight pregnancy, which is, again, very sad. It's adding an element of, if this is the case, it's adding an element of manipulation into a relationship that really, did have some potential. I just, mine are screwed this up, in my opinion. I like Sharon and Dylan, and I think they just screwed it up. Okay, BX Girl HS on YouTube says, I kind of love Marco. He's like a criminal mastermind that's just wrecking shop. He is setting up everyone to take epic falls while keeping himself clean as a whistle. I see things turning for the Abbotts, and I predict temporary jail stays for Adam, Kyle, and Billy. I kind of think so too. Even though I'm sure at the end of the day, Marco will end up getting his. It seems like Wynar's probably going to end up pinning murder and maybe even Avery's rape. I don't know how much they're going to pin on Marco before ushering this twin storyline completely off the scene. But at the end of the day, Adam, Kyle, Billy, Ashley, they were all complicit in a crime. They all did something that they shouldn't have done. And I think we're going to see them having to do a little paying for it too. Cheryl called and left me a voicemail that said, Victor always brings these people into his family lives, and into his family's life, and he never gets in trouble. They always forgive him, and he never goes to jail. And it's so true, Cheryl. That kind of reminds me of what happened with Patty. When he brought Patty back into the scene, it's very similar to what's going on with Marco now. He brings in this element of danger, not knowing what huge can of worms he's opening up, and then it explodes, somebody gets hurt, and he never ends up paying for it. I don't know if he ever will. Jennifer Budin on YouTube says, I am really not happy with how they are writing Adam. Adam always had a plan, and he was always the smartest guy in the room. Now they have him basically running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And I think Jennifer was kind of maybe making this point a little bit more in reference to his identity and with Chelsea, because it was on last week's video, and that's what we were talking about. But I plucked this comment out because I think it's really relevant and true also when it comes to Marco and his plan. If Adam is just going along with Marco, I don't know. That doesn't even seem like Adam. I mean, it seems like him to want to benefit, and it's certainly true that Adam does benefit from Marco's plan, but there is a part of me that's shocked that he's playing second fiddle to this guy he just met, and that he's going along with it with this guy that he just met. That doesn't seem very Adam-like to me. Henry on Facebook says, I wish that the Y&R writers would get Adam off the hook by having a character injected into the show just to come forward and admit they were the one that accidentally killed Delia, and they can't just carry that around with them anymore. Then arrest that person, Adam's off the hook, and now he can tell everyone he's alive. I agree, Henry. How hard would that be? I do still feel, and I feel like I'm reminded of it every single week, I still feel annoyed by the fact that Y&R just never resolved Delia's murder. They just swept it up under the rug and asked us to forget about it. It's just, I don't know why. I don't know if they're saving it for a later storyline or what, but I mean, we're finally getting to the bottom of this fake Jack twist identity thing, and I think it's about time we get to the bottom of the Gabriel Adam identity thing. Daisy on Facebook says, I was hoping it wasn't him, but now I think Joe attacked Avery. Just showing up at her apartment because he was concerned. I think it was more like he wanted to see his handiwork, which is also so very possible. Yeah, Daisy, I think that's really very possible. I don't know. I guess I think I'm more pragmatic in the way I'm wanting to watch this story. I'm looking for what the twist is going to be, but certainly Avery would know, right? She would know. So maybe it was. And if that's the case, then Joe is sadistic. He's disgusting. And certainly I would think that the character would be written off the show. Okay, really, really good voicemail from Gary this week, who was kind of schooling me on the early days of Y&R, that there was a storyline involving Chris Brooks, who also had a rape scene, and that it was, a very serious thing at the time, and it was really taken seriously. That apparently this character Chris Brooks was raped, and that Y&R kind of took the story as in sort of an educational approach, that they were trying to raise awareness about rape in the way that the story was being written, in the way that they were trying to educate women about what to do if they were to be raped, and that it had just more of an educational overall tone to it. And that's not what we're getting with Y&R and the Avery rape storyline right now. And Gary had mentioned that that there was the character of Chris was able to have time to heal after the rape, that it was a process. This happened to her, but the story followed her through her recovery. And that's also not something that we're going to get from Avery. We all know that Avery is going to be leaving the show, and so we're not going to get to see her go through that healing process. There's Gary was kind of arguing in the voicemail, and I agree entirely that it feels more like a plot device, that the rape is being used to as a story, and it just so happened that the actress thought it was awful enough that she ended up wanting to leave the show over it. And I think maybe the writer got in trouble for writing it the way he originally wrote it, and so there was a sort of behind the scenes smoke that came up as a result of this. But it seemed these writers, man, it's like, what are the big things we could throw at this right now? What are the things that will be shocking? And I just don't think that that's how. It's so serious and so severe and such a bummer, and I just don't think that's how Y&R should be. In fact, here's this was a YouTube comment I got from Christy Sittig. She says, I'm fairly new to Y&R. I also watch B&B, and I too am tired of the shooting and the killing crap. I watch these soaps for gentle entertainment. If I wanted all the violence, I would watch NCIS or that type of show. And that is exactly how I have felt as I've been realizing over the past couple of weeks that the show is very violent right now, but I've said that in the past too. I kind of like, I feel like Y&R should be about romance, and I like the business intrigue. Those are the storylines I like, but romance and love and family, and those are kind of the elements that attracted me to Y&R, and it's so unnecessarily dark. Samuel left a comment on YouTube and said, I cannot stand Cain. I have never liked him. He is so self-righteous and I can't take it. He's been lying since he came to Genoa City. For him to act as if Lily was wrong for calling his ass out is ludicrous. He's always trying to go around and find flaws in everyone after he is the one that has messed up. Yes, I agree. I was sort of toward the end of the week trying to connect in with Cain because he did make a point of telling Lily that he was gonna cut off the relationship with Lauren, that he acknowledged it was unprofessional for him to be anything other than her business colleague, and that if it made her uncomfortable, he should stop it. But it was too little, too late. It was almost just to make us feel Lily's grief more and guilt more over what she had done. But last week, the week before, and even like the first 3 days of this week, I'm thinking Cain is such a jerk. He's done nothing to reassure Lily about his relationship with Lauren, and at every step of the way, he's got more involved with Lauren as Lily has gotten more suspicious of it. So she was right. I'm ticked at Cain. Zabaza on YouTube says, question for Y&R fans. Didn't Victor and Ashley marry long before Billy and Victoria? I believe so, but I could be wrong. If I'm correct, Victor would have crossed the line first in the Capulets and Montague saga. I like that comment because we were kind of talking about the Romeo and Juliet of Billy and Victoria, Summer and Kyle style story, and absolutely Victor married Ashley long before Billy and Victoria, so definitely that would, and I guess that's a good question for Y&R chat. Was that the first Abbott Newman crossover relationship? I think it was. So I really like that comment. That's really good and really smart. Lee Daisy Williams on YouTube, I'll end on this one, says, have you ever thought about writing Y&R fan fiction on Wattpad? It's a great way to write the storylines the way you want them, or just focus on your favorite characters. You should check it out and read some. They are really good. I love that, and I'm gonna do that. That sounds awesome. I've got my hands full with Y&R stuff, so I'm not the world's greatest writer and time for that, but I'd love to read, and I think that I wanted to mention that for you guys because we talk a lot about the writing, so maybe some of us should put our money where our mouth is and go to Wattpad and start writing some Y&R fan fiction the way we want to see the show. Okay, you guys, I have an impending nap. I can't believe I made it this far. Sorry if it's probably not as big and compelling and splashy as usual. But hopefully I'll feel better next week, and we'll get our a good high energy chat in. But until then, you can always leave me comments. You can go to yrchat.com. From there, you can leave a voicemail. You can go to Facebook. You can go to Twitter. You can leave a voicemail directly by calling 309-588-4569. You can leave your comments on YouTube. You can send me a direct message. There's a million different ways to let me know how you feel about the show this week, and in general. I always enjoy hearing all of your different ideas and predictions. I'm afraid to know what we're getting ourselves into, but we'll see. All right, you guys, I love you. I'll see you next week. Bye.